Imagine marrying your crush. That's it, you just marry her. Sounds good, right? But let's think outside the box a bit. You marry your crush for the sake of being with her, but unbeknownst to you, you just signed up for a heavy responsibility that I don't think you can bear. Bet you didn't think that far now, did you? This is what happens to our main man here, Sub-2. Love comes at a price and his wallet was empty. Before he gets to put the wedding ring on, here is a little advice. You at love watching anime, and we are sure to provide you as good anime recaps as possible. So don't forget to like and subscribe for future great all things anime recaps. One night, he was picking bugs in the forest when there was a boom. From the light, Gandalf wannabe and a girl emerges. It is then we learn about the name of the boy, Sub-2, and the girl's name, Heim. She tells Satu that he saw nothing, and he is like, okay. Upon seeing her, his protect her by all costs meter goes beyond the charts. 10 years pass, and Heim wakes up Sub-2, calling him for breakfast. At this point, we know that Heim lives next to him, alone with her grandfather. Being the angry, bashful girl that she was, he mentions that she has changed a lot. Heim calls herself princess a lot since she was a child, but instead of answering, she draws closer to Satu, only to pick a grain of rice and eat it in a very certain way. Satu thought he had a chance there. After greeting Gandalf, they make their way to school. Satu is staring at the rings on Heim's neck, reminding him of the time she told him they were special rings for the one she is to marry. She asks Satu to marry him. Back in the present, Heim tells him that her eyes are up here, making him think that he should not take childhood promises seriously. At school, while the girls praise Heim, the boys are not so happy with Satu living next to the McDonald's employee you had a crush on. Satu gets a text from Heim, telling him to meet him at the shrine at 6 for the festival. Heim is in a yukata and Segu compliments her, embarrassing her. Later, Segu tries to confess but is stopped by the fireworks. Returning to the apartments, she thanks him for the night and makes it memorable, while Satu thinks to himself that he thought he knew about Heim, but in reality, he knows nothing. Suddenly, a bright light shines and Sub-2 remembers their first meeting, rushing instantly toward the light. Unable to let her go, Sub-2 rushed into the light as well like a good friend. But guess what? It's a wedding ceremony. Everyone is surprised and the prince asks who he is. Suddenly, the monster comes in to kill the princess. Gandalf, who is not his real name, tries to protect Satu, but that doesn't work well. Heim, making a quick decision, kisses Satu and gives him the ring. The prince gives Satu his sword, which starts to glow. He defeats the monster, faints. Waking up in a bed, Heim tells Satu that he is in the royal palace. Heim says something that is kind of hard to process. They did a kiss of the oath. They're now married. She didn't want to marry Prince because she didn't know him. She sees Satu and kisses him because he is a familiar face. I don't know how that works, but it works. A crowd gathers where it's known that marriage was supposed to take place to make peace between two empires, but the prince shuts them down, saying the princess's choice is to be respected. Gandalf introduces Satu to the people of the kingdom and asks him to say something. Satu is confused because he didn't prepare his Ring King PowerPoint presentation. On his toes, he yells that he is the king who came to save them, but the cringe caught up to him in the bath. Heim joins in and asks if he has feelings for her since this oath is just a formality. Satu tells her that she is the most important person in his life. Suddenly, the palace is attacked by more monsters and Alabaster, tells Heim. Also, Heim is not Heim. Her real name is Crystal. Tells Crystal he has to fight because of the ring. She kisses him and he goes full Baki mode on the monsters. Alabaster tells Sub-2 that the source of his power is the bond between whom he is married. That's why he hasn't fainted yet. Suddenly, a boss battle emerges from the sky. Who is the knight of this abyssal creature? While splatting Sub-2, they know they have to run. Alabaster tells him that they are no match and stops the creature for some time. The knight blocks their path, but the prince helps take him down for a moment. Prince had set a carriage for them to flee, and they finally make their way out. Crystal is happy to see Satu well, and Prince tells him that the monsters had attacked South Tower, so he saved Crystal beforehand. Satu asks the prince's name, which is Marm, Nagi, Marvarugius Gizares. We will just call them Mars. Alabaster says that it's impossible to defeat the Abyssal since the Ring of Light is weak, and so is Satu. Explaining that to gather more power, he has to own all 5 rings. And this clicks with Satu that he has to marry 4 more princesses. Well, marrying your crush was the only thing on your mind. It's better to know the consequences first, so I agree with Gandalf here. This should be fun. Arriving at an inn, Alabaster then starts to explain why marrying 5 girls is necessary to beat the big bad. Long ago, the Abyss King went on all hell on Earth, erasing many countries in that world with his evil powers. The Ring King decided to step in and stop him, forging 5 rings of different elements to destroy him: light, fire, water, wind, and earth. After sealing away the Abyss King, the Ring King spread his bling among his 5 wives who took it to their respective nations. These rings were passed down generations, and now, since the Abyss King is now set free, the new Ring King shall reclaim the bling to seal Abyss King once more. In the room, Satu feels pain, and Crystal asks him to take his shirt off and finds he has been heavily wounded. Feeling bad for dragging him into all of this, she runs off. Following her, Mars tells him that the princess is now in the garden, and Satu rushes to her. Crystal tells him that she knew the weight of her decision. If she were to marry the one she loved, he would have to go through responsibility and duty, also marrying 4 other girls, which she didn't want. Satu says, "I love you," and Crystal is like, "Okay, we're cool." In the morning, Mars comes, giving them cloaks and telling them that they are now headed to the Elf Kingdom Ronka. Though Satu thinks that they are funny-looking weirdos, but turns out they are a standard of beauty in this world. Ronka is covered by a tornado-like barrier that doesn't welcome anyone, while a bear chased them. Some elves call them from the roots of a tree to save them. Satu introduces all of them, and Crystal says that not everyone wants to join in on the Ring King shenanigans. The elves take them to the throne room. The elf princess, Nephrite, thinks that kissing is too lewd and runs away while his brother comes in and apologizes for his shut-in sister. The brother, Jade, sends Satu to a jail cell while treating others as royalties. A woman visits Satu, asking if he is after the princesses, to which he answers that he only wants to be with Crystal. The woman finds him weird for this and opens a passageway to where the ring is kept, and both hide. Nephrite comes and prays to the stone guards of the ring, which are the king and queen of Ronka. Satu is shocked by this information, and Nephrite catches them. Nephrite, upon seeing Satu, screams and faints. The woman leaves Nephrite and Satu alone in her house, since he is the one who has to earn Nephrite's trust and the ring. She may be a shut-in, but everyone has a key. Turns out that Nephrite is interested in the other world. Both make a bond, but Jade catches up, convincing her to keep the promise to their mother and not leave, and refrains Satu from meeting her. The elder woman named Peridot explains the past of the town and its curse, causing a law that no one would leave and no human was welcome. Alabaster says that they will come back for this ring later, and just they are to leave, the barrier is compromised and the creatures come inside. Knight gets beaten like he is in London. Satu saves him, but gets their butt handed to them. Just because Crystal is jealous and hesitates with the kiss, she rushes to Nephrite and convinces her to marry Satu as well. After Slay Queen talks, she agrees. Nephrite comes and kisses Satu, which gives him enough power to take down the knight, breaking the mask, and faints. Waking up, he learns the knight was the first queen of Ronka under the influence of Abyss King. They all make up and then leave for the next princess, while the queen realizes that Alavastor is the man she was in love with. Sometime later, Crystal wakes up from a nightmare and everyone is having dinner. It is when the nation of fire that is always on the move is right in front of them. Getting on the moving nation, the girls go their own ways and they meet the cat girls. I know you have been waiting for this, don't lie. On the other hand, girls swoon over Mars and tell them about the matching session. While the girls are eating crepes, the trio meets them and a man falls out of the arena. Going inside, the cat lady defeats everyone in a sword fight, which is a condition. Beat her and marry her. I don't know how that would work, but it sounds fun. She defeats Satu and tells him that if he want to marry, he better hit the gym. And he hits the gym with Mars, but to no avail. The princess named Granart, Satu sees her from afar, learning her ways to fight. Crystal then caresses Satu, telling him that he should take rest too, but his mind is stuck on doing better. During the bath, Granart asks Satu to scrub her since he had lost, during which he learns that instead of smooth skin, she has shredded important detail. Anyways, she mocks Satu that he cannot win as she can give him a handicap, but this doesn't fit well with Satu, and he tells her that both parties have to give their best. Granart leaves. The next day, Satu wakes up with Nephrite in her bed, who encourages him. With his bond, Satu defeats Mars for once. Crystal learns about Granart and Satu touching each other in the bath, and she doesn't like this. With this, it's a rematch for Granart and Satu, but Crystal is not cheering. The knight that just lost is offered power by the Dark Ring, led by the Abyssal King, which he takes, and suddenly, the whole place is under attack. Satu and Granart work together and defeat the knight, and she decides to marry him for his bravery, but Satu wants his recognition by her to be earned. They get in battle, and this time, Nephrite tells Crystal that he is fighting for her stake, and she cheers him on. He denies using power of the rings, as it is just lent by other princesses and wannabe chat about it. But it is then a voice in his head tells him they will bind him. With it, he defeats Granart. She, now swooning over Satu, decides to marry him. The next day, upon waking up, he finds all 3 girls next to him. One cat girl comes and says that preparations are ready and they get married. Though jealous, Crystal resorts to drinking a bit too much. Though upset, Satu tells her that they will do the hanky-panky when they return to this world, and the trio gets together with Satu. The party heads to the water region Masa. There, Mars part ways and a girl comes, asking if he is the Ring King, and then kisses him, telling him that now they are married and have to share the burden. But we all know that comes with a catch. The region is about to be destroyed, and he has to help no matter what. A night comes, and they all head to the palace. Also, the name of the princess is Saphir. She tells them that they don't have an army of their own, and that the knights they met before were just disguising themselves under the mask of protection and were trying to take over. Suddenly, a monster attacks, and Satu demonstrates his skills. They meet the king, who now worries that since the Ring King is here, his kingdom is under the eyes of the Abyss King, and there is a woman who whispers bad things in his ears, and then he starts to get sick. Later, they meet Saphir's twin sister, Saphira, who finds the Ring King ugly. Mars is now after Saphira, and Saphir explains the story of them. Mars is on a mission to seek out confidential information about Masa, but falls in love and ignores his mission. Upon finding the truth, he promises that he will become Ring King and come for her, but that doesn't turn out the way he wanted. Then the fortune teller sends out people to kill Satu, but Grammar hears, and over a few days, many assassination attempts fail because of party members protecting Satu, but relaxing by the pool. Gennard tells Satu that they are just doing it to lure out more assassins. Satu goes and learns about the intention of Mars, and he apologizes. Later, Mars tells his brother to stop, but that doesn't work. He is still on a mission to kill the Ring King to earn a place back in his kingdom, and the fortune teller tells him about the upcoming attack, making a chance for him to earn his place back, and forcefully gives him a sword. Mars is not under the influence of dark powers, and then a creature attacks the nation. Though the mercenaries of the Empire tried to fight them off, Satu and others were left to protect the palace. Before seeing him off to fight, the girls share their love with him to empower him, but Saphir finds it weird. Suddenly, Mars, under the influence, attacks Mars, but is hesitant. Understanding that, the rings talk to Satu, but he refuses to hurt Mars. Instead, he lets Mars hit him to make him understand that he is hesitant because of kindness. He reminds him of the time they were gym bros, and he comes back to sense. The fortune teller isn't happy with this and takes Saphira hostage, but the power of love seizes all, even the nukes. Mars asks Saphira to marry him and distract it. Satu saves Saphira. Struck by this, Saphira has to lend him the power and becomes a dragon, defeating the monster. The king is happy, and he agrees to let Saphira marry Mars. He tells Mars' brother that they no longer need the protection. Back at the Empire, the fortune teller tries to convince the king to embrace the dark side, but he has watched too many Star Wars and kills the fortune teller. Some days pass, and Satu wakes up from a nightmare and asks Crystal to accompany her on a date, but only her. Though others get a bit jealous, Saphir is unhinged. Alabaster gives him some allowance as Satu is broke in this world, and then they go out. But here is the twist: since there is no social media to keep an eye out, the other three wives venture out on their own to spy on their date. Though the day seems to go nicely for them, the other wives do start to get jealous more and more, and Crystal notices them. Upon returning, Crystal is happy, but asks him to give everyone the same amount of attention, as it is the duty of all the queens to be by his side. Satu gets her to the wall and kisses him. This moment gets a bit too embarrassing for both of them, and they decide to return to the palace. Soon after, all of them decide to go to the last region, Idanoken. Region of the dwarves, though said to be now in ruins, they set out with hope to get the last ring. While making their way through the mountains, they see that the whole place is in ruins. Only bones are the remaining things. They make their way to the door, and inside, nothing but automatons are inside. Guess the dwarves were already living in 2077 of their times. Then, an automaton comes to life, and they see that it has a ring on it. Upon defeating it, the automaton says it has begun.
It has begun!
Anyways, the rings start to vaporize, and Alabaster and the Empire Kings go. It has begun.
It has begun!
I'll stop. The Abyss King is now free, and every place is now hoarded with monsters. Though trying to defend the whole place, they still are overpowered. Alabaster creates a barrier to stop them, but they see Aaron Jaeger coming in with rumbling. Having no choice, Alabaster apologizes and opens a portal to send the girls and Satu to his home world, while Mars decides to stay behind to fight off the monsters. Crystal is sad about leaving them behind. Satu wakes up and finds the girls enjoying themselves. They go shopping for clothes, and people get confused. At the restaurant, they talk about how they will find a way back. Day passed, and there were no leads. Returning home, Crystal says that she found a letter left by Alabaster in case things go wrong. He left money and tells them to live a simple life and not worry about the world anymore. Soon, the girls start to get adjusted to the world, but Satu sneaks out every night on the hilltop. One night, Crystal comes and tells him to stop and give up on that world, but Satu is a strong Chad boy who doesn't give up on what he loves. Suddenly, Amber, the princess of Idonoken, who now resides in this world. She is an automaton, a vessel made to withstand the powers of the Ring of Earth. Crystal says that her home world doesn't exist anymore since the Abyss King is out. Amber tells Satu that if he changes his mind, he can come back. Back at the apartment, the girls need attention from Satu, but Crystal decides to keep things from them, but Granark hears them. Then for the next few days, Amber follows around Satu, making him finally confront her, who tells him that she has the power to open the portal. Finally, Satu agrees, as it is the duty of the princesses as well to aid the Ring King and Crystal. Then he notices the ring in his hands and is upset about it, comes to her senses. All the girls are now happy to go back to their world. Back there, a war is waging to fight off the monster, and they spot the Abyss King among them. The girls power Satu up, and his ring finally forges into one and attacks with all his might. Abyss King is only cut in half and survives, something that wasn't supposed to happen. He falls down unable to move, and all the girls protect him till he faints. He wakes up after a dream about his promise to Crystal and finds Sewer Ivy, Alabaster, and the girls on top of a bird. Alabaster tells them that he could only muster enough power to open a portal, and she came to their heed. Returning to the kingdom, everyone is happy that the Ring King has returned. Alabaster states that the slash was powerful enough to weaken the Abyss King, but it was not enough since something was missing, and that is the bond between the king and his queens. So yes, they have to lose the V card with his harem, without even getting Iseked. Mars comes to greet them, and they learn that there is no record of the Black Ring, so they have to undergo bride training. After a confusing night, Crystal takes Satu to her parents' grave and tells him that her sister is still alive, but hasn't met her since she came into his world. Alabaster and others come, and he tells them that Crystal will undergo magic training, and her new teacher is her sister. Mori and Bravery Novity try saying that at once, and they all begin their journey to improvement, while the world is burning. There is more yet to come, as it ended on a cliffhanger. Tales of Wedding Rings is a great anime because yes, even if available in uncensored version, you will watch it for the story. Available both in dub and sub. If you like the recap, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for future recaps.